All right, so we're diving into service manager interview prep, which means you're going for a role where you're going to be like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure everything runs smoothly for your team and the people you serve. And we're talking about all sorts of fields here: law enforcement, corrections, libraries, legal services, even firefighting. Talk about a diverse field, right? To help us break this down, we've got a stack of resources from RoleCatcher, career guides, interview guides, and even some really cool AI stuff, our mission. Well, we want to make sure you have the knowledge and the confidence to absolutely nail those interview questions.
What's so interesting about this field is it's all about people. You're managing teams, working with clients. You're the link between making things happen and making people feel good about it.
Exactly. And that human element, it's there right from the beginning. Like even with a simple question like, why service management?
Mhm.
You know, the RoleCatcher Career Guide really stresses how important it is to show genuine passion. It's not enough to just say, I like helping people. You got to prove that you get what this role is really all about.
So think back to a specific experience that really sparked your interest. Was it a volunteer gig where you saw firsthand how important it is to have well-coordinated services? Maybe you had a mentor who really embodied what it means to be a great service manager. That personal touch is what's going to make your answer memorable.
Okay, so let's get into a classic interview question. How do you juggle multiple tasks when leading a team? This is where your organizational skills really shine. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide suggests highlighting specific methods you've used in the past. Are you a whiz with task management systems? Or maybe you have a particular way you prioritize things based on urgency or your team's strengths.
The key here is you don't just list methods, you got to illustrate them with examples. Did you roll out a new system that boosted your team's productivity? Did your prioritization strategy help you navigate a crazy busy period? Real-world examples like those, they really pack a punch.
And be prepared for those follow-up questions, like how do you adapt your approach when unexpected challenges pop up? Because let's be honest, those curveballs are going to come your way.
Exactly. This is where you show you can be flexible. It's not about having all the answers right away. It's about showing that you can think on your feet and adjust when you need to.
Okay, now let's dive into everyone's favorite, conflict resolution. How do you handle disagreements within your team?
This is where your leadership and diplomacy skills take the spotlight. They want to see that you can steer the ship through those choppy waters.
RoleCatcher's interview guide emphasizes active listening as a must-have skill. It's not about forcing your solution, it's about understanding everyone's perspective and finding a resolution that works for the whole team.
A good anecdote can be powerful here. Did you mediate a conflict that ended up as a win-win for everyone? Did you use a specific technique like conflict coaching to help team members work things out? Sharing those examples shows you can actually walk the walk.
And don't be surprised if they ask, have you ever encountered a conflict you couldn't resolve? What did you learn from it? And go-
Oh,
Because let's be real, we all hit those roadblocks sometimes. It's
yeah.
about showing self-awareness and that you're always learning and growing.
You know what's interesting here is that interviewers are looking for vulnerability and honesty. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about showing that you can learn from your experiences, the good and the bad.
Okay, let's shift gears to measuring success. How do you measure the success of your team?
This is where you show that you understand success isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's about balancing the numbers with the human element. Think client satisfaction scores, project completion rates, but also team morale and how each person is growing.
And be ready to dig a little deeper. The interviewer might ask, how do you celebrate successes and address areas for improvement? It's about showing that you cultivate a culture of appreciation and continuous learning within your team.
And this raises an important question. How do you use data to keep track of your team's progress and make those informed decisions? Are you comfortable with using analytics dashboards, or do you prefer more qualitative feedback methods like regular check-ins?
Now let's talk customer service. How do you make sure your team delivers that exceptional service? The RoleCatcher Career Guide emphasizes going beyond just training manuals.
Think about it this way. What creative strategies have you used to instill a customer-centric mindset in your team? Did you put in a feedback system that led to positive changes? Or maybe you introduced a reward system for going the extra mile?
And be ready for those curveball questions. They might ask, how would you handle a situation where a customer has a truly unique or challenging request? This is your chance to show off your problem-solving skills and your ability to think outside the box.
It's also about showing that you empower your team to take ownership and find creative solutions, even in those unconventional situations. Remember, great service is often about exceeding expectations and going above and beyond.
Okay, now let's tackle a scenario that every service manager inevitably faces. How do you handle a dissatisfied customer?
This is a test of your empathy and your ability to turn a negative experience into a positive one. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide really hammers home the importance of active listening, acknowledging the issue and offering genuine solutions.
Think back to a time when you successfully de-escalated a situation and turned a frustrated customer into a loyal one. What specific steps did you take? How did you show empathy and understanding?
And remember, it's not just about fixing the immediate problem, it's about preventing similar situations from popping up again. So be ready for those follow-up questions like, what's your strategy for preventing this type of issue in the future? It's about demonstrating a proactive approach to continuous improvement.
All right, let's talk about staying ahead of the game in the ever-changing world of service management. The RoleCatcher Career Guide stresses continuous learning. Conferences, workshops, keeping up with professional publications.
What's interesting is that interviewers want to see that you're not just keeping yourself updated, you're fostering a culture of learning within your team. Have you created opportunities for knowledge sharing and professional development? Maybe you've implemented regular training sessions or encouraged mentorship programs.
And be prepared for a question that digs a little deeper. How do you assess your team's learning needs and tailor development opportunities accordingly? It's about showing that you understand that each team member has their own strengths and areas for growth.
It's about being a strategic leader who can identify skills gaps and then actually create a roadmap for development, making sure your team is ready to tackle whatever challenges come their way.
And now for a question that's become really relevant in today's job market. Have you ever used AI tools for professional development? What are your thoughts on their potential?
This is your chance to showcase your awareness of these new technologies and your openness to embracing innovation. You mentioned RoleCatcher's AI earlier. How do you see yourself using tools like that to help your team learn and grow?
RoleCatcher's AI can analyze job descriptions and pinpoint the exact skills employers are looking for. Imagine using that info to create customized development plans for your team and making sure they're learning the most in-demand skills. It's like having a personal career coach for every single person on your team.
And what about using AI for personalized training recommendations? Imagine an AI that looks at your team skills and then suggests specific courses, workshops, or online resources to fill those gaps.
It's about using the power of technology to make learning more efficient and effective. Now, before we move on, I have to ask, have you ever personally used AI tools for professional development? What was that like for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I've had the chance to try out a few AI-powered learning platforms, and honestly, I've been really impressed with how they personalize the learning experience. For example, there was this one platform that analyzed my learning style and what I was interested in, and then it gave me a list of resources that were specifically tailored to my needs. It was incredibly helpful.
I can see how that level of personalization could really change the game for professional development. It's about making learning more engaging, relevant, and ultimately more effective.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're aiming for here, to give you the knowledge, the skills, and the confidence to really excel in your service management career.
So what have we covered so far? We've tackled some common interview questions, looked at strategies for showing off your skills and experience, and even dipped our toes into the world of AI-powered professional development. But there's more to come.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll keep going on this deep dive into service manager interview prep. We'll dig into even tougher questions and uncover those strategies for making a lasting impression. Welcome back. We're diving even deeper into those interview questions, the ones that really separate the good candidates from the exceptional ones. Let's start with one that's become super relevant. How do you manage a remote team? The way we work is changing, and they want to know you can handle it even when everyone's not in the same place.
That's a great one because it goes beyond just knowing how to use Zoom and project management software. It's about leadership in a whole new environment. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide suggests showcasing how you build those connections and keep everyone collaborating, even when you're not physically together.
It's interesting because you need to show them you can build relationships, keep morale up, make sure everyone feels like they're a valued part of the team, even from a distance.
Think about specific strategies you've used. Do you have regular virtual team building activities? How do you make sure communication is smooth across different time zones? Do you have ways to recognize achievements and celebrate wins virtually?
And be ready for follow-up questions like, What were some of the biggest challenges you faced managing a remote team, and how did you overcome them?
Sharing an example of a challenge you tackled successfully really shows off your problem-solving skills and how you can adapt.
Okay, let's move on to a question that assesses your strategic thinking and commitment to professional development. How do you ensure that your team is up to date with the latest industry trends and developments? This is where you show them you're proactive about learning, not just for yourself, but for your whole team. The RoleCatcher Career Guide really highlights how important it is to build a culture of learning.
Think about the resources you use to stay informed. Do you subscribe to industry newsletters or journals? Do you encourage your team to attend webinars and conferences? How do you share that knowledge with everyone?
It's not just about getting the information, it's also about creating systems and processes for sharing and using that knowledge. Have you set up a knowledge management system? Do you have regular knowledge sharing sessions or internal workshops?
And be prepared to go a level deeper. They might ask, how do you identify emerging trends and figure out how they'll impact your team's work? This shows you can anticipate change and set your team up for success in a world that's constantly evolving.
It's about connecting the dots between industry trends, new technologies, and what your team is capable of. Do you use tools for trend analysis or to see how you stack up against the competition? How do you use those insights to plan your team's development?
Let's go back to RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools for a minute. Specifically, their CV Resume Builder. This one is really cool because it uses AI to analyze job descriptions and figure out those key skills and keywords employers are looking for. It helps you create a resume that really stands out.
It's like having a personal resume writer who knows exactly how to get past those applicant tracking systems and how to make your resume stand out to the hiring manager. Super valuable in today's job market.
Totally agree. And speaking of AI and interview prep, RoleCatcher's interview prep feature is a game changer. It has this huge library of practice interview questions, along with tips from experts on how to answer them effectively.
And what's even more impressive is that their AI can actually analyze your video interview practice sessions. It can give you feedback on your delivery, body language, your overall performance. It's like having a personal interview coach right there on your computer.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic resource for anyone looking to boost their confidence and polish those interview skills.
Okay, let's tackle a question that often makes people nervous. What are your salary expectations? Yeah, this one can be tricky, but with the right prep, you can handle it with confidence. The key is to do your research and find out what the average salary range is for similar roles in your industry and location. RoleCatcher actually had a salary insights tool that can be really helpful for this.
Exactly. And don't forget to think about your own experience, skills, and what makes you unique. What special value do you bring to the table? Be ready to articulate your worth clearly and confidently.
And don't be afraid to negotiate. It's a normal part of the hiring process, and you deserve to be paid fairly for what you contribute.
Now let's move on to a question that looks at your long-term vision. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This isn't about having a perfect plan. It's about showing your ambition and how your goals align with the company's growth.
Think about your career path. Do you see yourself taking on more leadership responsibilities, managing bigger teams, or tackling more complex projects? Are there specific areas you want to become an expert in?
The key is to connect your personal goals with the opportunities of the role and the company. How will this position help you reach your long-term goals? How do you see yourself adding value to the company over time?
Okay, let's talk about a question that tests your ability to adapt and solve problems. Tell me about a time you had to adapt to a significant change in the workplace. How did you handle it?
Change is a constant in any job, so they want to know you can roll with the punches. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide recommends using the STAR method to structure your answer: situation, task, action, and result.
Think of a specific time when you had to adjust to a new process, a new technology, a new team structure, or even a company merger. What were the challenges? What did you do to adapt? What were the results?
Focus on showing that you're flexible, resourceful, and a problem solver when things change. Be ready for follow-up questions like, what did you learn from that experience, and how has it changed how you approach change management?
This is where you show that you can not only adapt, but also learn from what happened and use those lessons in the future.
All right, time for a question that gets to the heart of your leadership style. How would you describe your leadership style? This isn't about using fancy leadership buzzwords. It's about showing that you understand yourself and different leadership approaches.
Think about the qualities that define you as a leader. Are you collaborative and inclusive? Are you results-oriented and decisive? Do you mentor and coach your team members?
And don't just describe it, give specific examples. Did you successfully lead a team through a tough project by encouraging open communication? Did you empower your team to exceed their goals by setting clear expectations and giving regular feedback?
You know what's interesting is that the best leaders are adaptable. They can change their style depending on the situation and the team. Highlight your flexibility and your ability to tailor your approach to the specific needs of your team and the task at hand.
Okay, here's one that delves a little deeper. Tell me about a time you had to motivate your team to achieve a challenging goal. How did you approach it? Think about a time when you faced a tight deadline, a complicated project, or a big shift in strategy.
This is your chance to show them you can inspire, encourage, and empower your team. How did you communicate the goal? How did you make them feel like they owned it and were bought in? What strategies did you use to keep them motivated throughout the process?
Did you break down the goal into smaller, more manageable chunks? Did you celebrate milestones along the way? Did you provide individual coaching and support to team members who are having trouble? Sharing specific examples of your motivational techniques and the positive results you achieved will really show off your leadership skills.
It's also about highlighting your emotional intelligence and your ability to understand what makes your team tick. Are you a cheerleader, a strategist, a mentor? What combination of approaches brings out the best in your team?
Now let's switch gears to a question that often comes towards the end of an interview but is still super important. Do you have any questions for us? This is your chance to take the lead and learn more about the company, the team, and the role itself. It's also a chance to show that you're genuinely interested and engaged.
Come prepared with some thoughtful questions that show you've done your homework and that you're really curious about the opportunity. For example, you could ask about the company culture, their vision for the future, how the team works together, or the specific challenges and opportunities of the role.
It's also a great opportunity to clear up anything that wasn't fully explained during the interview. Do you have questions about their remote work policy, their professional development programs, their use of AI in service management?
What's important is to ask questions that go beyond the surface and show you understand the company and the industry. Don't ask things you could easily find on Google or questions that are just about salary and benefits.
You want to leave them with the impression that you're not just looking for any job. You're specifically interested in this opportunity, and you've taken the time to understand what it's all about.
We've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've looked at a whole bunch of challenging interview questions, from managing remote teams and adapting to change to showing your leadership skills and asking insightful questions.
But we're not done yet. We still need to talk about how to make a lasting impression and seal the deal. Ready for part 3. All right, welcome back. We've prepped for those tough questions, but now let's talk about that final touch. How to leave a lasting impression and make them think, we got to have this person on our team.
It's about more than just answering questions, right? It's about showing your personality, your passion, that special something that makes you stand out.
Exactly. The RoleCatcher Career Guide really emphasizes authenticity. It's not about putting on a performance. It's about letting your genuine excitement for service management shine through. Remember what first got you interested in this field and let that passion fuel your answers.
What's so cool is that people can really sense when someone is truly passionate about something. It comes out in your energy, your tone of voice, even your body language. It's contagious.
And don't underestimate the power of storytelling. We've mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating. Weaving relevant anecdotes into your answers makes them memorable and helps people connect with you. Did you turn a tough client interaction into a positive one? Implement a system that totally boosted your team's efficiency? Those stories really bring your skills to life.
It's about showing, not just telling. Instead of saying, I'm a great problem solver, tell a story about a time you faced a complex problem and how you creatively solved it. Those examples have way more impact.
Speaking of impact, let's not forget about nonverbal communication. Having a confident and positive attitude throughout the interview sends a strong message. Good posture, eye contact, a genuine smile, these little things can make a big difference.
It's about being confident but not arrogant, enthusiastic but not over the top. You want to find that balance where you come across as authentic, approachable, and capable.
Now let's tackle a question that often throws people off.
Yeah.
What are your weaknesses? It can feel like a trap, but it's actually a chance to show your self-awareness and that you're committed to growing.
The key is to choose a weakness that's real, not something you're making up and something you can manage, and that's relevant to the job. Don't try to disguise a strength as a weakness. It's obvious and seems insincere. Pick something you're actively working on improving, and ideally something that you can turn into a positive for this role.
For example, maybe you're a little too detail-oriented, which can sometimes slow you down. You can frame that as a strength by saying that your attention to detail ensures high-quality work, but that you're also learning how to delegate effectively to make things more efficient.
It's about showing that you're not afraid to admit where you need to improve and that you have a growth mindset. It's about showing that you're always trying to get better.
And remember, how you handle the weakness question says a lot about your character and how resilient you are. So choose your weakness carefully and frame it in a way that highlights your dedication to continuous improvement.
Now let's go back to RoleCatcher's AI tools. Their AI-powered feedback can be super helpful for fine-tuning your interview answers. Think of it like a virtual mock interview that gives you personalized insights and suggestions.
Imagine recording yourself answering common interview questions and then having RoleCatcher's AI analyze your responses. It can point out where you can be more concise, more impactful, and more aligned with what the job requires. It's like having a personal interview coach right there in your pocket.
The cool thing is AI can pick up on things we might miss as humans. It can analyze your tone of voice, your pacing, your use of filler words, and give you specific tips on how to improve. It's a really powerful tool for self-assessment and improvement.
For sure. And speaking of improvement, let's talk about following up after the interview. A well-written thank you note can really make you stand out and reinforce your interest in the job.
It's a small thing, but it shows you're professional, thoughtful, and that you genuinely appreciate their time.
In your thank you note, reiterate your enthusiasm for the position. Mention something specific from the interview that resonated with you, and express your confidence in your ability to be a valuable part of the team.
And if there was a question you felt you could have answered better, this is your chance to give a more thoughtful response. It shows that you're self-aware and committed to putting your best foot forward.
Okay, one last piece of advice. Be yourself. Authenticity is so important in any interview.
Don't try to be someone you're not. Interviewers can see right through that.
Let your personality shine through, show off your unique strengths, and let your passion for service management shine through.
So, what have we learned today? You've got the knowledge, the confidence, and the tools to nail that service manager interview. Remember, it's not just about getting any job, it's about finding the right fit. A role where you can thrive, contribute, and make a real difference.
As you head off on this exciting journey, one last thing to think about. How will you as a future service manager inspire your team to not only meet but exceed expectations and create truly exceptional experiences for every client? Keep that question in mind, let your passion guide you, and good luck in your interview. We're cheering for you.